What does trauma mean to me? Wow, that's really a big question.
Okay. This like might take me a minute to answer. Like I gotta like dude, it's the first question I'm like struggling. No, but trauma, I don't know. It's just it's
Uh, Trauma is pain, shame, guilt, leads to depression.
I feel like it's more of a mental thing. Like it's more so the effects that like you only that you go through like not only physically but mentally after going through a traumatic situation, like the mental health afterwards. Because I feel like for me, like I really struggled more so with not what happened to me, but how I felt mentally afterwards. So like that for me was like trauma.
Actually, in one of my psychology classes, I found like a good definition for it, and it was just like kind of like suffering from memories. So I thought it was like a kind of cool way. I mean, in a way, because trauma is just mainly memories.
Um, I mentioned I spent 5 days in Florida recently with my cousin. So she grew up in this, but without the alcoholism and all that stuff. And we're talking about the family violence. She said, "What did you do with that violence?" And she was sitting in the seat in front of me in a bus. And I put my hand on her shoulder and I cried. And then the next day we talked a little bit and I said, "You know what? I inculcated that violence. And I expressed it toward my children instead of like my son has moved away from that. There was, for a time, I couldn't do that. I couldn't move away from it. I inculcated it.
I like really, really didn't understand it until I did come out and I I really didn't process or accept what happened to me. Like I remember sitting in the room like disclosing what happened to one of the investigators and I just like was like I just want it to go back to normal. Like but yeah, I didn't accept it at all and going through court and working with a victim advocate is when I want to say I really started to understand and accept what happened to me and accept that it's not okay.
There are areas of my brain or the psyche, but it has a physical location, so it's a brain that I can't access. There's trauma there that maybe it's too deep or something, and so I can't access it. I've tried to go there different times. I've done a lot of personal work, and I've made a lot of progress. But there's still stuff there. And I think that manifests in muscle tension and stuff. I have a lot of muscle issues. If you come from a background of trauma, there's always this upregulation of the adrenals. So there's always an intense response to things. The reactivity, the tension in the body causes reactivity.
Kind of dealing with almost like anxiety, like when someone like gets like too close to me or something, like I just kind of like shut down and I get like I don't know.
Certain sounds or smells can be pretty triggering. I don't know, there's just, I feel like different sensory things are definitely nothing about touch or anything like that, but sounds and tones of voices sometimes.
Like after I went through it, like honestly sometimes still like I'm scared to be like alone. Like that's definitely something that I've been working on like unpacking with my therapist.
I had to learn that it's okay to be alone and that it's okay to just sit And so I can just sit and observe, where in the past I've been so driven that I can't. And so I'm more still. I try to listen more. I used to have to cover up the unease.
But yeah, really just being alone. And then like afterwards too, like learning about like and processing like my sexuality has definitely been a struggle, but I feel more comfortable with it as time has gone by. And I definitely do feel a lot more like confident in my body now. When beforehand, like I just didn't really know how to like process. That definitely messed with like my mindset.
Um, I'd say it's fairly easy now that I've like lived with it for a while, because I've been able to manage it and like understand how to deal with it and live my life. But sometimes I just dissociate and don't pay attention to anything going around me.
Definitely like working with a therapist and yourself and like mindfulness um, helps you like get more comfortable and more confident in who you are.
When I was 6, I first went to therapy, and my therapist's name was Terry, and she's the only therapist I like very distinctly remember. Like even my last one 3 years ago, I barely remember what he looks like or sounds like. But Terry just had like such an impact on me that I wanted to be that big of an impact for somebody else. The way she was like supportive.
It's definitely a shift in mindset in order to like be comfortable in who you are. But it's so important in dealing with trauma.
Like be patient, because it's always different. It takes a long time to recover sometimes, and it's okay if it takes years or even if it takes 2 weeks. It's totally normal. Most people have trauma, so it's not a unnormal, uncommon thing.
I think it's important to pursue peacefulness in yourself. After years of hiding, a lot of years of hiding, I was always the guy that smiled. And today I'm the guy that smiles. But for decades, I was just hiding from you. Even though I'm smiling, I'm hiding. And it just doesn't work to hide. These things build up, and what happens is people, their tone of voice, or something they say triggers these old memories of these old events. And that can be real challenging sometimes. And so the more we seek peace, the more peaceful we are. It's really, really basic.